Hello everyone. This is Dr. Ilyas from the Department of Education, Hazara University, Mansehra. Today we are going to discuss this topic on critical thinking versus general thinking. So, what is the difference between critical thinking and general thinking? This was an interesting question asked by one of my MPhil students, Mr. Ashaq Khan, who seems to be a critical thinker. His question was, what makes critical thinking different from general thinking or ordinary thinking? The following was in response to this important question. So let us begin on a lighter note. Critical thinking begins with C, while general thinking begins with G. Isn't that a difference? Yes, that's a difference. Now, on a more serious note, on a more reflective note, the following are some of the ways in which general thinking is different from critical thinking. The first thing is that general thinking is a more reflective, unconscious, less deliberate form of thinking, while critical thinking, on the other hand, is more conscious, deliberate, and intentional form of thinking. The second thing is general thinking involves more subjectivity, while critical thinking involves more objectivity. So, critical thinkers look at things more objectively. The next thing is general thinking is less contextual. So, people who just think do not go into the context of things. While critical thinking involves more contextual thinking, that means going into the context of things in order to understand things in detail. The next difference is that general thinking is often unidirectional form of thinking, while critical thinking involves thinking about things in a multidirectional way. So, exploring the different aspects of something. Then the next thing is that general thinking is often based on belief in and follow of some authority, while critical thinkers thinking is often based on challenging authority. Generally speaking, many people believe in things that they hear from some people in some authoritative position, such as maybe their parents or their elders or some religious leaders or some other people in position of authority, while critical thinkers actually um, is based on basically challenging authority. The next important difference is that critical thinking is general thinking is less goal oriented, while critical thinking is basically goal oriented. So you are going in a particular direction in order to understand something where you need to put critical thinking to use. The next point is general thinking is in play when no specialized form of knowledge is needed, while in critical thinking, uh, we need more specialized form of knowledge in order to understand things in a more critical way. The next thing is that general thinking revolves around questions such as when, where, what, while critical thinking revolves around the most important questions of why and how questions. So, in order to elaborate on these differences between critical thinking and general thinking, let us look at an example. And this is an example from my personal observations recently while staying at home. And this was that the other day, a pair of sparrows who had built a nest in a corner of my house caught my eye. The birds were flying in and out of the nest frequently to bring in food for their babies. On further observation, I noted that it is the mother sparrow who is bringing food more regularly and more frequently, while the father sparrow is less frequent in bringing food and is mostly sitting, flying, and chirping around the nest. Now, as a general thinker, I would just see this, and so people who are just generally thinking, for them, birds feeding their babies, full stop. Critical thinking, on the other hand, while observing the same thing, will do what? They will ask questions. Why is it that the mother sparrow was more frequent, more relentless, and more regular in bringing food, while the father sparrow had a more laid-back attitude? Secondly, they might also think, was this behavior a part of their natural role as father and mother? Was the sparrow couple's behavior typical of their species, or was it unique in their case? In other words, could this particular observation be generalized to other sparrows, or was it just unique to their case? And numerous other questions. There will be no end to questions if we think critically. Such questions may lead to further observations, questioning, and probably more systematic research of this experience. So, a simple example from day-to-day life. One can come up with more complex, more sophisticated examples on further deliberation related to the difference between uh, simple general thinking and critical thinking. For the above example just showed that for people who will just put general thinking, will just see birds coming in and going out, but a critical thinker will be interested in asking more complex questions. Many thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please give your questions and comments in the comment section.